Hello, guys. This is the Radio Not Community Podcast. This is Yuki, aka Dash with the Gas Mask. We got our friends here, B Bank, which is one of our guests. Also, we also have Cheru Cheru, Durek. We got Mark, Martin Freeman, Triggered Happiness, and also Whiskey. Now we would like to start up without any further ado. We can start with the Radio Not Community Podcast. Here we go.
So for today's podcast topic, we have stealth. Now on the FAQ, it says that players are able to sneak around the AI and make arrests, but it won't be easy. Now, do you think that stealth should be a thing for a SWAT game?
Yeah, actually, the thing is that in the original SWAT 4, you couldn't really stealth because yeah, the stealth mechanism wasn't really there for sure. But I would love to see a SWAT game that you can stealth on it. I would love to see a stealth mechanism in a SWAT game.
I'd agree, and I'd say to add on to that is that it's going to rely on that score system we referred to, beforehand in the other podcast, in the sense that power being cut off is going to add to that stealth value. Of course, night vision systems come into play as well, with obviously having to see. You're not going to have a massive flashlight, completely exposing yourself in pitch black darkness when you cut off the power. Night vision is going to come into play. I'm not sure how you're going to apprehend someone quietly. That maybe you get to it and arrest someone silently, but then everything just kicks off because, of course, you can't just wrap someone's arms around them, out of nowhere in a stealth motion, because that's really far fetched, isn't it? You never hear about that, so that's going to be interesting.
I'm not really imagining anything like Splinter Cell stealth style, but more like just catching suspects off guard or something like that.
I don't think that there's no melee in this. So how are you? Well, I mean, you could use a taser. But I mean, that sounds like it would be loud, wouldn't it?
Well, I think the game will definitely have silence weapons for when when stealth is paramount.
It's probably in the sense that it's when the formation of the criminals you're like, let's say, apprehending breaks apart. So you have one criminal that's on his own, maybe outside. So when you apprehend him, no one in the vicinity is gonna actually hear him.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But I think if you were to surprise a suspect with a less lethal weapon or like a taser, you shouldn't be able to do that without any points deduction, because like they've done nothing wrong at that moment apart from holding a gun.
Well, this is a quite weird way to say he did nothing wrong except holding a gun.
I mean,
using a taser at one point is just like a method used by special forces to, okay, let's call it involuntarily, like, bring the suspect to surrender. It's just like a way for the police to make sure that the suspect won't shoot at them. So using the taser is just like, I think it shouldn't be like such a big penalty. The problem is, in matter of stealth approach, I think that I don't think there's a good way to implement stealth in the game. The reason why is the moment you're gonna arrest one person, normally everybody gonna know it. Okay, he gonna scream, he gonna shoot. I don't know what he gonna do, but the point is, the moment you want to arrest someone, the stealth is over. So what I think about stealth, like in the game, what could be nice to see is some sort of stealth approach. But the moment you interact or like attack the suspect or apprehend the suspect, this is like something completely different. Like, it would be cool to see some sort of, the moment you start breaching, there are like two approach: the go in, bang everything, flash everyone, and just, you got a dog, jeez. And just
Sorry.
like it's not a problem. And just like, be quiet. The moment you go in, you just like, yeah, let hell loose. So there's like two kinds of stealth approach. The one where you just go in and shoot everything. For example, like in a school shooting situation, you can't go inside a situation to say, okay, guys, we're gonna go real stealthy inside the mission and like, kill the school shooter or like arrest him. There's no way you can do that. The moment you're gonna trade stealth with how fast you're gonna interact with the situation, that's like, you can't really do that. I mean, stealth in the game is like not a big. It's not really possible, in my opinion.
I think
Well,
it's more. I think it's more. There's like two interpretations of what stealth is. Is it just getting the drop on an individual or group of people, or is it, let's say, actually going through one by one and just taking each person by surprise? Because of course, we know the AI is not going to be dumb. They're not going to just throw the weapon in the midair and just say, I'm going to get on my knees. Some of these guys may take off on 10 toes and hope to God they don't get caught. And then that can make the whole situation 100 times worse. That's where the electricity and things come in.
Here's what I think how stealth would work. I think if you if you arrest someone, they're going to try to always. I feel like they're going to try to alert the others. They're going to always try to give an advance warning. The suspect who gets down stealthily. Now, if you're like in a situation where it's stealth is the biggest thing you need to keep on. You need to get there as quickly as possible. I feel like they're not going to. Lost my way of speaking.
That's fine. I don't think that. I don't think it's going to be that possible in this game. I mean, they said that you can sneak around, but how are you going to actually stop someone from, screaming and yelling?
I think that's another thing is that one thing I heard is basically whenever you're doing in a real SWAT situation, one of the things they always have to keep around for is keep away from are the news cameras. Those will always be a good source of information for the people who are taking hostages, people like that. So I actually have a book on those type of things.
I mean, like the point is like the cameras, like that's actually a good point. The only problem is I see you can't really do that because at the same time you need to feed from a gameplay kind of situation, you need to feed the suspects, like the suspect AI, at the same time the information where the SWAT is. So technically it's like, for me, that would be implemented in the game. This is some sort of wall hacking for the AI. So I think that shouldn't be an option in the game. But considering the stealth approach, I think you're completely right when it says there's two ways to apprehend them. It's like the one where you just where you're gonna start screaming and all that stuff, and
And actually, this is why stealth in these games are difficult, because you can't really stop a suspect from yelling. Like if you even cuff a suspect without even anyone noticing it, the suspect still gonna scream and yelling for help, and that will just can alert the other suspects easily. So it's if the developers change say that we're gonna make a stealth system, it's gonna be hard. That's for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, think about it. Because you have to yell at them to even get on the floor. So that kind of just defeats the purpose.
Yeah, true.
That's very interesting.
I mean, yeah. I also like a point I wanted to talk about, because I saw that once inside the Discord, in a Discord discussion, the camo, because someone, I don't remember who it was, they mentioned that if you can change your skin, the color of your clothing into black and white, for example, for a snow mission, you're gonna wear white. Someone mentioned that this is some sort of stealth. The main point about SWAT or any other tactical or special operation unit is not to go in and be stealthy. They're
usually loud.
Huh? Yeah, that's the point. They go in and they're not here to be stealthy. They want to go in and do it as fast as possible, because the moment they break the silence, I'm gonna call it, there's no way to go into stealth mode again.
It obviously depends what unit we're talking about, because of course we're not just playing as SWAT, we're playing as FBI HRT, and obviously HRT consider what kind of way they're going to be apprehending suspects in any scenario. We're talking hostage situations where people are going to be have to be apprehended. Again, with that stealth, where there's two interpretations of it. Is it the element of surprise where you go in and there's going to be maybe a few loud bangs and everything sorted out? Or is it going to be each individual suspect is going to, when they break formation and separate from their group, they get captured, and then that's slowly gradual stealth? Because that's the only way I'm going to see it work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was thinking about one thing. We were talking about interacting with suspects, but there's also interacting with civilians in a stealth way. You can, because I hope this is going to be implemented in the game, that the civilians start screaming and stuff, and you tell them to be quiet. For example, if you want to
Yeah.
extract the civilians, of course they're going to be like in real life situation. There will always be that one civilian that's gonna start screaming, crying, and be fucking annoying, even if you can't do it anyways. Like,
I think an interesting environment. I think an interesting thing for the environment that would still correlate with stealth is things like maps. So sounds like, let's say if we're in a factory, it's going to be very loud. So
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
footsteps are inaudible. What the SAS did in the Iranian embassy siege back in the 1980s was they made the airports nearby fly lower, so the sound of the aircraft will made it so that the insertion inside will be less quiet. So if we have an airport map, maybe for an example, we can see the similar thing where they have air traffic control calling the planes lower. So kind of a factor thing, because they did do that. Of course, it's far-fetched because it was a very drastic thing to do. But of course, sound, again, is another thing that's important. Again, loud areas, things that are maybe more likely inaudible. You may not hear the hostages, may not hear the criminal that would be shouting at the top of his lungs. Walking and everything may even be super silent, and you might never hear it.
Yeah. Another thing. Well, the hostages. The moment that they see you, they'll probably scream out, "Oh God, it's the cops! Thank goodness!" Like, there should be like some kind of feature, like if you're actually trying to do a stealth mission, where you like put your hand up to your face, like to do a shh, like to the hostage. That'd be kind of cool.
Or
You
what
know,
was
like-
it? The
like-
index finger to the mouth?
Yeah.
like some sort of hand sign. Oh yeah. I want to talk about that like in the last podcast, and this is kind of stealth related. I've seen that once in Armor 3, where you can like do hand signs. I mean, I know in Armor 3 you don't really use that because there's no reason to use that. But could you imagine some sort of hand sign communication? So the moment you talk to each other or talk to the teammates, maybe the suspect can hear that. Because I would love to see some sort of that you can do like a countdown with your hands.
It would be
Like-
good if the audible communication in game would actually be like something the AI would hear. If you remember TeamSpeak with Task Force Radio, you'd have where your sound would be audible, it would echo, it would project through a loud area. If you're talking in game, it's going to be audible. You know what I mean? So of course, maybe you have the side option like in Tarkov. If you've seen hand signals, where you can also do some sort of hand signal movement or type in the chat maybe. But again, you have to make sure that it's user friendly and not too hard, as if you're gonna have to do like 100 keybind changes just to get the hand signals working. You're gonna have to make it so it's smooth, but it's still
Yeah.
user friendly and easy to pick up.
I mean, if they were going to do that, like where if the AI could hear voice chat, then I would say that hand signals are even more important than.
Yeah.
Well, if they were to implement that the AI could hear the voice chat, that should definitely be an option that you can toggle on or off, because otherwise a lot of people would just use Discord or
Oh yeah,
TeamSpeak.
sure, yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah, you put your hand up to the freaking mouth, shh, and then he just like shakes his head. Yeah, okay. Just shakes his head.
Yeah, I mean that would be like pretty cool. Even like with hand signs, you can. I don't want to like see something really massive and complex like you see in some games, for example, Escape of Tarkov, where you can literally choose between 1,000 or 110 sort of hand sign. But some kind of basic stuff like, say, this is enemy, like clenching your fist together, or like the hold sign, or like point left and right, like some sort of that, like something really easy to use. Because the moment it's getting too complex, no one gonna use it, honestly.
Yeah.
And you can just talk and go, okay, I'm gonna talk. Yeah, he gonna hear me. I don't give a damn, So, I mean,
Which I don't
I
even
think that would
know.
be- yeah.
I don't even know if hand signals are even confirmed or not. We should probably
know.
ask that on the.
Yeah, we should. It would be great if Easy Tweet would be like right here.
Yeah,
So we
that'd
could-
be. Damn it!
Yeah, like-
Where the hell is he?
Yeah, he got internet problems.
Oh, that's
because,
right.
yeah.
God damn it. Anyway,
Yeah, like, I mean, hand sign would be like a cool implementation to the game, because that's something you would see in SWAT units, or even in my military time, we had like some sort of hand sign. It's not like you don't really use it a lot, only in close quarter combats, or if you like in whatever, like in stealth situation where you're hiding in the forest, like you're gonna use that a lot. but most of the time you just talk. The problem is you can't. The problem is, will everybody see the hand sign in the game? That's the point. So if the frontman gonna do like hand sign, like for example hold, will the last guy in the rear listen to the sign or just go, yeah, I didn't saw it. Like I'm gonna go continue walking. So
Well, if
yeah.
if you're talking AI, then of course they're gonna see it because it's just like hardwired into them. But if you're talking like actual players, then that's gonna be a bit of a, like that actually encourages teamwork because you have to pay attention to your higher up guy.
I think.
Actually,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Actually, I was wondering about one thing that could it be that the developers put in a mission, or the community, or even the community would put in a mission into the game that mission only can complete it with stealth. Like if you go loud, or if you like break the quiet area, you're just gonna instantly fail the mission. How do you guys feel about that? Like, should be a mission type implemented where you can only use stealth.
Well, the way that the missions go is that you can do it any way that you want. So you could go in from the back, you could go in from the front, you could go in loud, you could go in quiet. That's the way that the missions are supposed to be made. The only thing is try not to kill as many people as possible. What you want to do is put them in custody. And, the moment that you lose a hostage, that's a mission failed. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. I wouldn't really call it mission failed.
Well, that's what it is, though.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It depends, because I played SWAT 4, and it's kind of bothering me when sometimes, like, a suspect kills it's a hostage. I'm like, okay, shit, that happens real life. Like, you want to go inside, like, a school shooting stuff, and the moment one of the hostages, or like this college students, is getting shot in the back and he dies, you're gonna be, oh yeah, okay, damn, we lost the mission, we're gonna go retreat and like let the shooter continue. This is like stupid. I'm okay if you're gonna have like a limit, but you shouldn't settle with, okay, if one hostage dies, the mission is over. I would love to see some sort of like a maximum or minimum. For example, okay, if that specific person, for example, like that was the SWAT 4 mission too, like with the undercover cops. I don't know if you guys played SWAT 4. Did anyone?
Yeah, we all played
SWAT 4. We always played
the moment you kill the undercover cop, it's like a mission fail, because he's like the main objective to extract him from the thingy. And like in the school shooting simulation, I don't see a reason why you should like have a minimum of one person to die. I mean, I don't want them to die. Okay, don't get me wrong. It's like I think it's stupid to say the moment only one hostage dies, mission failed. Maybe you won't get as many points. Of course, you should lose a lot of points if the hostage dies, but points should also be realistic.
I have to wonder if there's like an option where you could just like turn that off, because it might seem too hard to the player, so you could like turn it off. But then there's also those hardcore players that'll be like, you know what, I want 100% to go in there. I don't want a hostage to die. Like, this is more like a challenge to yourself than anything else.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Like perfectionist.
Which, hell, I'd do that.
Yeah,
Same.
man. Well, like, if you're actually gonna do that, it doesn't necessarily have to be an option that you turn the losing of points off. You can, like in SWAT 4, you had different difficulty levels, which required you to get different scores to pass the mission. And if you'd see that here, you could still implement the point penalty and still have different difficulty levels.
Actually, speaking of difficult levels, what do you think that difficulty levels should be implemented in Ready or Not? If yes, then what difficult levels should be implemented?
So what I know, what the devs announced so far is that yes, they are thinking right now to implement two kinds of different difficulties. I'm not sure how this gonna like look. If this like how it gonna be like more. If it's gonna be more like a point system, or the AI will be better, which I reasonably doubt, because I think AI making the AI difficult or something like that is like way too hard. I think maybe they're gonna implement some sort of point system that, or maybe they're gonna add more AIs if you like choose the harder option or the professional option or legendary. I don't know how they're gonna call it. You know, I mean, I don't see a big variety of possibilities how they're gonna do it. You know?
They said that they want to keep it to at least one difficulty, but they're thinking
They-
about adding another one.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
about it. They haven't said that they actually want
Right,
to or
yeah.
not.
Then I got it wrong. My bad. I mean, but still, two difficulties. How this gonna work out? I don't know.
Yeah, actual normal games have have 3 difficulties in general, like easy, normal, and hard. Like easy is for the beginner players. Normal is for the players where players want some challenge, and hard is actually that players want to really test themselves, but like they want all the challenge. So
Well,
actually,
Well, I look at it
seeing-
as. Go ahead, finish up.
Okay.
Speaking of difficulty, in my opinion, since Dudek said earlier that they wanted to make a Dudek said you just said that they're thinking about like keeping like only one difficulty, right? And then they're talking about having 2 difficulties instead. Am I correct?
They want to have only one difficulty, but they're thinking about doing another one.
Yeah. Okay. Here's where my theory goes. So okay, so there's 2 difficulties in the game. This is just a concept for me, but how I see it is that the other difficulty will be much more like realistic compared to the other one, which means is that the game will be basically what Void wanted to give to us instead of the other difficulty, which is just for the newer players. Just get used to it. Get me?
So
Like,
like
yeah,
normal
pretty
is
good.
I actually agree with that. Yeah.
But I mean, if we're going off of SWAT 4, then I mean that one didn't have multiple difficulties. Like it didn't hold your hand.
Well, probably what it's going to be is that it just more holds your hand and makes the AI incapable of doing certain things. It's not going to be
Okay.
retaining everything from the gameplay, but maybe things like, lesser chance of them going together and doing teamwork, kind of AI like scripted
Yeah.
events, that maybe them taking cover, regrouping. Maybe they're just dumber, if anything, because that's just what difficulty is. They fucking
this-
retarded or they really smart, because that's really what difficulty is nowadays.
Maybe that's why they probably should stick to one difficulty only, because fuck the hand holding. Like fuck the hand holding. Like let's not
Potentially.
do that.
Sorry, what did I miss?
Let's just like I was saying, like they probably should stick to only one difficulty, because screw the hand holding. This is what we're gonna give it to
Yeah.
you. This is how you're gonna play it.
I think it should be like
Basically, like
like normal, hard, and Uber. Like that's how I imagine it would be like.
I don't know. I like the
Yeah.
one difficulty idea where it just doesn't really hold your hand.
exactly.
but
Yeah,
that's just
destroyed by that
me.
your face.
That's the SWAT 4 model. Like they don't have like multiple difficulties. It's just one. But
Well, to go further up on that SWAT 4 thing, there was like 4 difficulty options, but they didn't do anything apart from change the points requirement. But I think that the easy difficulty actually required you to get 0 points, so you couldn't fail the mission
Yes.
unless a hostage died.
mm,
Or yourself, you die. Like the second option, which
Yeah,
happened
true.
way too often to do. I mean, I liked how SWAT 4 actually did it, because the moment you shoot a suspect, you're gonna lose points because you killed the suspect. And if you play on, what was it, extreme or hard? I don't remember. Like
Elite.
the highest difficulty, elite. Yeah,
Elite.
Elite.
You need to acquire 95 points to succeed the mission without failing it. I think this is actually kind of making the mission harder on itself, because you need to be more careful how you're gonna interact with the suspects. You
think
need
it's
to watch
more-
out. Yeah.
I think it's more that it shows you like a vivid representation of your expectations. We're not going to be going on, oh, you complete the mission, pass. You know what I mean? It adds that it adds more pressure to the scenario of what you're doing, because as you go on, they're going to be having more higher expectations of the player or the group of people who are playing. You get what I'm saying? It adds more of that pressure and makes you think about what you're doing. It adds a bit more professionalism to it, rather than it being a bit too
Yeah.
casual. You think about, hold on, what score would I get if I apprehended this guy a bit rough, or I could have gone easy on him? You get my point? It makes
Yeah.
you more considerate of your actions. So I think that's a real good upvote from me on that system.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I agree.
So we talked about stealth and difficulty then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we can move on.
Okay. So up next we have mission setup, and we all know that this actually has quite a bit in the FAQ. It says here that all missions begin with a tactical analysis and planning phase, along with situation overview, briefing, known suspect, civilian, BIOS, and we will be able to select teams to shut up power grids or blockade entrances, choose new entry points, coordinate strikes with map drawing, choose to help assist the player, such as snipers, floodlights, and negotiators, and spawn unique devices, including ballistics, shields, holy shit, heavy rams, and telescopic ladders. Further missions will begin with 911 calls and briefings, among other things, and this does not also talk about the negotiators and all that shit. But
now, my thing with that is this is a real thing that I want to be wondering about, right?
Mm.
You remember when you saw the ballistic masks, right? So they're probably level IAA, so probably considerably defensive against maybe pistol calibers, right? You know how uniforms were not really going to be, how do I say it? Customizable in the sense that, like it has some sort of benefit. Like only the helmets and stuff have the remote benefit of the doubt on protection. My question is that ballistic mask we've seen, is that going to be part of the score system? Or is that going to be part of just one of the customizable helmets you can put on?
So you mean like a Metal Gear Solid 5 where if you use certain things, it would lower your score?
Yeah. Yeah, like you get at the beginning of the mission 100 points, and if you use that mask, for example, you lose maybe 2 points. Is that what you mean?
I wouldn't like to see that, because I think it's the way that the individuals in the team would execute the mission, how that actually turns out overall. I wouldn't judge like a mission outcome just by someone taking a ballistic mask into battle. That's not really my thing.
Yeah, if we're going off of SWAT 4, then I think what they're going to take into account is the weight, because you're not allowed to like carry too much stuff. Like you have to balance yourself out from like walking really slow to, wearing less armor and stuff like that.
We can carry a lot though, because we've seen we've got people with riot shields and secondary firearms. We've got people with battering rams and 2 primaries, I think I've seen.
Mm.
So there's a lot of things. Obviously, that primary is probably in a tactical section, so it's probably a non-lethal, maybe like a beanbag round shotgun or something like that. Maybe a breaching shotgun, which obviously has a direct purpose. But other than that, you can carry a lot more than any other tactical game. I can tell you that much. So you're going to be carrying more weight. So I'm not sure if weight is going to be a considerable thing that puts down your overall score, because they're going to be very considerate about what you can carry, because we've still got up to ones and tactical stuff like that. So.
I mean, you could carry a lot in SWAT 4, but the thing is that your weight would make you walk stupid slow.
Never realized that. Like,
yeah,
in SWAT 4.
Yeah, like if you took off all of your armor and you just went in with like 2 pistols, you'd run across the map. Like you'd actually be running.
Oh yeah.
And like, like if you wanted to unlock a door, like you'd go stupid fast when you're unlocking the door. That's how ridiculous it was.
SWAT 4?
I think there should be a cap to how slow you can go and how fast you can go.
Quick question about SWAT 4, like
points would probably be the best.
I imagine like you can't just like be a.
Because of talking SWAT 4, wasn't that the mod of SWAT 4? Because I played the default game SWAT 4, and there wasn't something like that implemented.
The mod, I remember that when I played the original SWAT 4 multiplayer, the SWAT 4 even had this option when you choose between light armor and heavy armor. With the heavy armor, you walk more slowly.
Yeah, those were the trade-offs.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, only on
I need to
multiplayer
check
though,
that
I
game.
think.
I was like, why would you ever pick light armor
multiplayer,
versus heavy armor?
Okay. You're talking about multiplayer, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. No, I was talking about the single player.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, like I think we have 2 different groups here, because we have one that just knows all about, the multiplayer, and then we have one that just knows all about the co-op. And it's very interesting how the games or the 2 different parts of the games feel different here. But I think that's what makes this game kind of unique, I guess.
So, We kind of lost track about the topic.
Yeah. So the mission
The mission
Can I
setup.
say can I say my opinion?
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Sure. Well, the topic was, I think, the briefing
Yeah.
stage. The briefing state is perhaps, I think, one of the most important states when it comes to entering a house, because at the briefing state you actually readying your loadout, like selecting your loadout and watching through, and the briefing stage. I think the briefing state will be good if the briefing state always requires a lot of strategical skill, because you gotta choose your entry, you gotta choose your loadout, you gotta choose you gotta look through the bios, the civilian bios, the suspect bios, all of that stuff. There can also be a timeline, if you don't understand, like what happened, when was it, and what time did he shot the suspect, and all of that stuff. So, and in the briefing stage, you're readying up for the action. So, I think the briefing state will require a lot of strategy. That's what I think.
Something I wonder, like, when you enter the house, will you sometimes, if you manage to see, for example, with negotiation, when you go in, will you be able to see people, one of the suspects talking with the negotiators? Would you be able to see them reacting to the?
Honestly, I think
Mhm.
I think the negotiators are just gonna, like, I think the purpose of a negotiator is just to get as many hostages, like, before the mission actually starts, out of the area. I think that's the purpose of it. But
I mean, honestly, it would be quite interesting to see like some sort, maybe not while the game is going on, but maybe like at the beginning, some sort of cinematic, and maybe from that you can see if the negotiations were like successful or not. Like some sort of that would be actually quite
It
interesting.
could
to see.
maybe even add another hostage, if anything, if it's very risky.
Oh my god.
Yeah, let's roll the dice on it. Come on, guys. Yeah. So
What are we talking about? 20 right here?
so mission setup again. So one thing that, like, if I'm going back to SWAT 4 again, but when you read like the paragraph that's on there, it gives you a lot of clues as to what you're going into. You'll be reading something and then you realize that they have a lot of guns. Like they're fully armored and kitted. Like they have like an entire essay for you to just read right there. Like people might not want to read it, but it's extremely helpful when going on those types of missions. But then again, it doesn't tell you the whole thing. Like you don't know what you're doing.
How much of that will probably be like, it will be like conflicting info? How much will be info that makes you
It's
think,
possible.
Is this wrong?
It's possible.
Well, while I really like the briefing, and like it's really nice that you get to select the equipment based on the briefing. After the first time you've played the map, it's kind of predictable, because when you've played it, it's like, oh, this is the map where the suspects have all the armor, and then the briefing won't be useful anymore after you've played it like once.
They would make it so that nobody spawns in the same place. If you're playing a map over and over again, they would all spawn in completely different areas.
Well, that's true, but like then they'd have to adapt the briefing to the locations that the suspects are.
It depends. I mean, maybe they just don't even give you a briefing. Like, oh well, we don't actually know what's going on.
Yeah.
We just called you here. Like we don't know what's going on. We just called you here. But
yes.
talking about the briefing and the
Something I imagine with the briefing is that if you get more hostages out, the better intel you'll get.
Maybe.
What? You mean some sort of, they tell you where the yeah.
Okay. That's
Okay.
That's quite interesting to see. But I also want to say something about the briefing and the suspects on its core, because in SWAT 4 you had like maybe some sort of this is that person, he did that and that, but it's not really connected to the AI. What I really want to see is some sort of, some backstory behind, like criminal, how's it called again? Criminal history or something like that.
Yeah.
Where
Uh-huh.
maybe you can see
Oh.
some sort of, okay, this guy tends to be more violent because he got like 4 or 5 assault charges.
We've been trying to catch this asshole for the
Yeah,
past
exactly.
2 weeks now.
Yeah, but something like that would be actually quite interesting to see, because with that you can actually determine who you got in front of you, and if he's going to be more in the it's easier for you to distinguish if he's going to be more aggressive than maybe the other suspects or criminals on the map, because it's something I really hope they're going to implement.
Actually-
Yeah,
That would be
go ahead.
really cool.
Actually, the main thing I want to see in the briefing state is the map customization. Like you can have a map which is actually the building that you're gonna enter, and you can draw onto the map and draw onto the map, and selecting the entry points from the map, and draw onto the map like in real life, this is how we're going in, and this guy takes rear guard, this guy opens the door real quick, and this guy optimizes. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
And
they actually say it right here. It says coordinate strikes with a map drawing, meaning that you can actually draw on the map and tell players to go where and all that.
yeah.
I could just imagine how they're going to end with the map drawing.
Yeah,
But how many games?
Oh my god!
I've actually seen a system like this before. You guys remember the game Due Process?
Yeah, that's actually what I was gonna say.
damn.
Like, would it be like that where you can draw on and maybe you could probably see a basic outline when you play?
What
I don't
was
think I
that?
should see an outline while we play. That just seems kind of
I know, and I know it was like an
yellow
extremely
adventure
big-
line.
I would prefer to not actually, because this is like sudden notice sort of deal, right? Like back in SWAT 4, they would have like a piece of toilet paper that was just randomly drawn on there. Like that would actually be legit. I wouldn't mind that.
That sounds quite.
If you write one spot too much, the whole entire fucking map tears in half.
Yeah.
I played way too much Arma 3 to know how they're gonna end with a lot of massive dicks in the middle of the screen. It's
Yeah.
so...
God damn it.
Sorry, for everyone who played Arma, you at least once you had that one situation. But talking about some sort of that, is it like, will it be permanent what you draw on the map, or only for the pre-mission setup? And because I'm asking that is because while doing the pre-setup, maybe the map will be cleared the moment you start the mission. I hope it's not like that, because it's kind of stupid. I want to rely on what we draw at the pre-mission setup while we're doing the mission, because I'm really shit with building planes, for example. I can't remember shit about them. So it would be actually quite nice to see while you do the mission, you can actually draw on that to like cross the rooms. For example, we cleared that room, and you just draw across.
Well,
That'd be
obviously, with
actually-
clearing rooms, I think it's going to be more of like a drastic kind of, real reality of obviously clearing rooms, in the sense that it's going to be, you're going to throw a chem light in and make sure it's clear, kind of thing.
Yeah, I can't wait to do that.
When we're considering, getting a map off of a piece of a toilet paper, or like a full scale building map, I'd like to see a thing where each individual player has a different set color, so we can see who's who when we're actually drawing these markings on the map. I think that's pretty nice. I think that would be pretty nice, but I don't want it to be that we can just keep drawing on the map, because of course, if you've got 4 people drawing on like different maps, how on earth are we gonna have every single person having their own drawings on each separate map of each individual? It just doesn't really make sense with it, really.
Would we even get a map? Like, what happens if they're just like, sorry
Well,
guys?
potentially not. Potentially, it's only just hints, really, and maybe just a note saying, there's like maybe like a back way, maybe a staircase. Yeah, I mean, maybe even an older image. Let's say that maybe like refurbished and like completely remastered. The whole interior. Maybe we've got an older, thing going on. Maybe they've got some sort of underground thing like the Fairfax residence. If you guys remember SWAT 4, maybe we can see a normal basement, but when we go in, it's a whole new refurbished kind of
Mhm.
detail and setting, really.
Like all we got was eyewitnesses reports, and they just draw literally the first freaking floor instead of actually like the top floor, the fucking basement,
Maybe
the
there's a
one,
mistake in it. You never. Maybe there's a complete big
Oh, yeah.
mistake in the thing.
the tunnel that leads into the next building over. Like, man, that was. Thanks, Intel guys. Thanks for the.
The problem is talking about Intel because some buildings might not have a plan at all, so you don't know if they're gonna be like a condensation under it, or they're gonna be like a hidden room, or like another room connected to that room. So something like that. Because inconsistency is that what SWAT units like
Yeah,
experience
those
on the daily basis. This is what I would love to see, like some sort of unreliability, some sort of okay, we got the map there, but still, is it 100% correct? Didn't they maybe change something in the next room? So for example, they closed one room or
Right.
extended the
Oh,
rooms. Like
That door wasn't there before.
yeah, exactly. Some sort because in I think what was it, Martin? Like the Iranian embassy thingy. They had
Iranian
a lot
embassy
of,
siege.
yeah, they had a lot of problems because at the beginning they had like one building plan, but it wasn't accurate because, for example, doors opened and closed on different angles, and because that's don't forget that's actually an important point in which direction doors open and close. Because the moment it's opening in your direction, you're gonna have a lot of problem breaching that door with, for example, if you want to kick it in, and maybe they missed an extra room where maybe a hostage is hiding or a suspect, like some sort of inconsistency in the map drawings would be actually really cool to see. Not always, but sometimes.
So mission briefing starts off with a 911 call.
Yeah.
Now is that going to be like a lady like talking to the SWAT team, and then they like share what a person said was in the area? That would actually be pretty interesting to hear what they have to say.
Normally, like on SWAT call-ups, it's not the dispatcher, like the lady or male talking to the SWAT units. It's just like they call first responders. If so, the first responder's gonna call up the SWAT units, and then from there they're gonna exchange the information they got so far. What I would love to see is some sort of what we've seen in SWAT 4, some sort of 911, what's your emergency? And there's a woman talking about like a school shooting or a hostage situation or some sort of that. Like that's what I would love to see in the mission. And I hope this is something you can skip because I had like so many times I failed this mission SWAT 4 and I had to wait like a minute until that SWAT 911 call up was just done. So yeah. I like it. It's nice and fun detail, but unless that.
I think that SWAT 4 actually had an option for you to turn that off, but
it had an option to turn it off. Yeah.
Did they?
It was
Oh,
actually
shit.
optional to turn it on because it was off by default.
And also not every mission had a 911 call because because there's like two types of recognition of crime, like someone like a witness calls 911 or a police like or the police instantly recognizes a crime and like
You mean like the warrant?
engage her.
Like the active warrant, we just saw like a guy with or like we got a warrant for that guy. He's hiding in that building, like some
Yeah.
sort of that. Yeah, like yeah, that's true. Like SWAT teams not always have like that sort of call up. Normally it's like a pre call up. I don't remember the specific code for that, but yeah.
it says that missions will begin with the 911 calls. So is that like before the mission brief or like the planning phase, or is that after the planning phase?
I think it's much better if it's before the planning phase because I think after the planning phase it doesn't make any sense because the briefing will tell you all the things that you have to know about a mission. After you listen to the 911 call, it's pretty much the same thing that they say on the phone. So yeah, it's much better if the 911 call displayed on before the planning phase.
Yeah, I think it's like a good idea to make the like the call before the mission setup, because it's giving some sort of realism to the game, which I mean, don't see a reason to make the dispatch call after the mission setup. So yeah, I mean,
So okay,
shall we
I
move
think
on for
I
the
think we,
topics?
yeah, I think we can move on.
So the next topic will be because the community had like a big discussion again about reloading. I don't know. Shall we talk about that? I mean, you did a video.
Basically, what happened is that I made a video about reloading, and it was kind of like a fluke video.
Oh, yeah.
It blew up to like 40k views, and I'm just like, oh snap! I guess people really care about this issue.
But the problem, I think, reloading is the discussion right now is in matter of reloading, how the adrenaline or the stress will affect the reloading, or if it should be fast or slow. So, yeah.
Well, actually, the discussion was that is Ready or Not's reloading realistic, because people were comparing it to Escape from Tarkov, saying that was more realistic than what Ready or Not had. But I mean, to be fair, we don't actually know if that reloading is still the same as it is today.
Well, it depends what background we're talking about, because we're talking about the average Joe again. When you're like a snub nose in his pants, obviously he's going to be much more frantic when he's reloading, maybe faster or slower. Do you know what I mean? If we're talking, we may have a guy who's standard duty and he's got his sidearm, but he may not be as well trained as a SWAT officer who consistently gets trained in both two-handed and one-handed firearms. It depends what background we're talking about, really. To me, I feel the reloading is just it's got that feeling where it's got that casual feel in its length, but it still has that tactical feel with the way they have that 240 frames per second kind of capture limit.
Yeah, we're talking about a SWAT officer that basically trains for this sort of thing, so it becomes second nature. Whereas a scav that's an Escape from Tarkov is just someone who picked up a rifle or a pistol. Like, these are two completely different things that we're trying to compare here.
Well, this brings us to an interesting point, because, will the suspects reload as fast as the officers, even if they're just like a plain Joe robbing a...
I hope not.
Whatever.
I really hope not, because SWAT officers are actually professionals, and even if you're a suspect that has a lot of firearm training, you probably won't reach the same level as a SWAT officer, because they do that maybe on the daily, weekly basis, like reloading. Because reloading drills, I mean, I did that in the military. They're annoying as fuck. They're boring, but at the end, it's actually it's like breathing. Reloading is like breathing. So I think stuff like that should not be easy for the suspects to do. And we also need to consider there are two types of reloading: the fast sort of reloading, where you drop the magazine and you don't really care what happens with the half or full magazine or the empty magazine. You just need to pop in a new magazine. That's normally what happens in the middle of a fight, and I think that's something that should be reasonably fast. Not like, okay, I'm gonna do that in 1 second. It just should be maybe 2, 3, 4 seconds. Not in Escape of Tarkov, it's unrealistic. Even if I do the fast reload magazine, I still need solid 15 seconds, 20 seconds to reload a new clip in my pistol. And I'm sorry, pistols are the easiest thing to reload. So I think it should be as Martin said, the urgent feeling, and also be fast and reasonably fast. Not too fast, but still, yeah.
And the main thing that I liked about this reload system that Ready or Not has is that new ammo check feature that you can that you press a button and the operator will just blow up the magazine and check that there's how many bullets in the magazine has, and that's the coolest part of it, and that just blew my mind. And I don't know if there's gonna be a HUD where the magazines how many magazines and how many bullets are you having right now, or you need to check ammo with this system. but it's still really interesting that they put this thing in, that you can like check your ammo like just by blowing off the magazine and checking how many bullets in there. So that's just fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's really their attempt to like minimize the UI, right? So you don't always have like a number on the bottom right of your screen or anything like.
Actually, no. You were saying like checking the bullets in there, right?
Yeah.
Well, basically, I don't know if you've seen this one video, but there was like that one video from Void where like you were not checking the bullets, but you were checking the weight of the magazine. So you have to judge it how many bullets you have by how light or how heavy it is. If it feels full, then that means it's still full. If you feel like it's half full, like it's basically like judging by its weight and all. I don't think like you'll be checking bullets like
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, yeah. I just wanted to clarify
I
that.
actually didn't know about. Like I thought it was actually checking how much bullets you actually have, not checking the weight. I actually didn't see that.
They were just judging it by the weight, really. So you're basically blind, like it or not. You don't have the time to pull out the bullets, just count it. No, you just have to make sure how heavy or how it feels. It's basically like you don't have time. You're in that situation. You don't have the time to pull out the bullets and stuff. No, they made it so that you just have to judge it. Basically, you're blind right there.
Okay, so we're out of topics for the for the people that are in charge. So we're just gonna push on to the people that are actually guests. So B-Bank, you said that you had something with graphics.
Yeah, graphic. What I have seen on the previous Radio or Not footages of the actual gameplay mechanics, I noticed that the game has gonna have some pretty neat graphics, and actually the developers are working with KineMaster and they are using the latest version of the Unreal Engine of the Unreal Game Engine, which I think is Unreal 4. If I want to be pointy,
has to be Unreal 4.
Yeah, it is Unreal 4.
So the game's engine is using Unreal 4, and that engine is just so awesome, and that's why the game's graphics and also mechanics are I think it will be awesome, because what I have seen, the glare, the motion blur, and also the animations are really well made. And when I saw that animation, when an officer like entering through a hallway, that just so goddamn realistic. The animations are quite well made. So I'm gonna keep up my hopes for the graphics and animations and all stuff like that, because the animations are awesome. The engine is quite awesome too. The graphics are gonna be awesome because of the engine, obviously, and because of the great developers. So I think the game will have a pretty neat mechanism.
Yeah, so the engine is pretty standard for indie games, I've noticed. Unreal 4, they seem to use it a lot, but I think the first time that I'd actually seen a very pretty looking game was probably Hell Let Loose, and I was like, wow, I didn't know that this engine could accomplish this. And then when I saw footage of those recent clips from Ready or Not, I'm like, wow, holy cow, like this one that you put right here, I was like, oh my god, this almost looks like it's like really realistic. I thought that nothing could accomplish the thing that the Frost engine has, but Unreal 4 like really outshined what I thought was reality, I guess.
I think the motion capture thing got me, I think, personally.
Yeah.
And that's the good thing about it, because the developers I don't know how, but the developers completely maxed out the engine's performance to the top. So when I heard that this game was going to be developed with Unreal 4, it just completely blew my mind while I was watching the gameplay
I
mechanic.
think one of the things I did in my spare time with a few of my friends who are in the animation scene, all that kind of stuff, who are getting into that, was the inspiration with the facial capture, with things like the iris moving in random directions and stuff like that, and obviously like different things like the pores and the skin and all those things. I think with the individual motion capture, it really strongly reminded me of the old Rise of the Tomb Raider motion capture, where you had things like like hair movement and stuff like that. Things on belts and kits started moving around where where you respectively lean and twist and turn. I'd expect things like, obviously, when you peek around corners, like maybe something that's dangling off, like maybe a radio, cords maybe jiggles a bit. Do you know what I mean? When you have that kind of detail and stuff, and graphics again, it may be going off topic, but gore as well. When you have these authentic visuals with authentic motion capture, a lot of these games you don't see gore with it because it's so much work to actually be doing, especially when the decals for it, not talking dismemberment, when that's out the way. Parallax decals on really high poly, models is insanely hard to do. I think Ready or Not is really pushing graphical limits. I think personally,
the problem is if you push those graphical limits, of course, your low-end PCs won't really be able to run the game pretty nicely. And
but that's
it depends on how they optimize the game.
That's the sacrifice you make when obviously you're making a really well-made,
but that's not how it should be. If you want to play the game for graphics, okay, then you could play Battlefield 5. That's not the reason we should play the game, of course. Of course, it's nice to see something. What you said,
reasonable optimization, but I think they're more aiming for that mid to high-end kind of PC brick, because we've already said that the AI is substantially very smooth to run with. When you have that going on, I'd really expect that they have that sensible approach where they couldn't push it, because of course we could push it. They've got the animators, they've got all that kind of, the digital artwork section. They could push it all they want and get us fucking 10 frames per second with, real life graphics, if anything. But they've done it to an extent where it's authentic and real, but it doesn't sacrifice your frame rate and gameplay enjoyment with, dodgy frame rate, choppy, screen tearing.
It also depends. It also depends on how they optimize it too, because. Yeah. Like I played Postscriptum. I mean, I wasn't expecting anything to get better from that, but then when I played Hell Let Loose, I was like, "Whoa, this is different." And also it feels 10 times better. I mean, not saying that I hate either. I just but it was very mind blowing that game felt more optimized and it looked better. I didn't even think that the Unreal Engine could, accomplish something like that. But,
I want to talk about something the unit wrote in the chat. Splinter Cell Blacklist used your Unreal 3, I think, and its graphics are great too. But look at PUBG; it looks. I don't know if PUBG was it made on Unreal Engine 4. Does anyone know?
Well, looks like PUBG looks like it is made.
It is
Unreal.
Right? So the point is I want to hit about that is, of course, you're right. PUBG looks shit, but
so I guess really it depends on the devs, I guess, because
exactly.
I mean, another good example of this was the Titanfall games. Those were made on Source Engine.
Heavily modified Source.
It's actually how talented the developers are to make the game. If you look some videos on YouTube, they're insanely realistic looking sceneries made with Unreal Engine 4, and it's mind blowing sometimes.
Yeah.
So you see stuff like PUBG where it's okay, what I'm looking at. It's it's weird. Okay, it's just at one point it's not only based on the engine you're using, it's also who is the artist. And of course, just look graphics wise, it's a big difference if you're gonna let the same guy make this huge massive map. Also, don't forget, PUBG is the map is actually massive. It's I think 8x8 or 4x4.
8x8.
Yeah, 8x8. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna have to cut you short because we're really low on time here. Triggered Happiness, really quick. You said that you had a topic for us.
Yeah, it was about breaching because I've been waiting for quite a long time. So don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what's breaching gonna be like in Ron? Because I know there's gonna be what was it? C2 breaching charges and battering rams and breaching
The
shotgun as
shotgun.
well.
Well, I just hope that every shotgun is able to blow off the handle, because I don't
Yeah.
want to get like a specific shotgun to do so. And also there's C2. They have a battering ram, which that wasn't in SWAT. I'm trying to think of anything else.
Kicking in doors would be a nice option to see.
Yeah,
But
I guess
if you
kicking
do
in.
that, if you do something like kicking in the doors, it's just like exposing the officer too much. It would be quite nice to see what kind of kicking in this would be, because military use some sort of backwards kicking in. So, sorry, the moment you kick in the door, you can directly go in cover. But what police usually use is some forward kicking. It's like going from the door. The problem is with kicking is you can't do it without exposing the officer at the door. The moment you open the door, of course, the suspect will be able to shoot in the door. And I think there should be a limit of how many times you should be able, if there's something like a breaching shotgun, there should be a limit how many times you should be able to use it. I also hope there shouldn't be like something like a breaching shotgun, because you're right, Direct, because I think every shotgun should have the ability to shoot open a door, even if it's not a shotgun. Just
Actually, sorry, I had to interrupt you there.
Right.
Yeah, about the shotgun breaching, I think like there has to be like some sort of like that when you breach it open with a shotgun, like it doesn't open automatically. You have to kick it open. Where like basically the officer aims it down for the grease down the doorknob, and then fucking shoot it open, and then he turns around, use the back kick like Whiskey just said, and then quickly gets to cover. Then that means that the officer is not in the range of getting shot. He has the time to run to cover. Get me?
Yeah,
In my
sure.
opinion, I would love to see that. Like
would-
I've seen that
And,
like in real life, but I would like to see that in Vaughn. Honestly, any more ideas on breaching, guys?
I actually wonder that how would it be that if you not only can breach your doors, but you can only breach through walls as well. How will be that? Yeah, I know. I know it sounds like it's like copying Rainbow Six Siege, because that had a quite a like wall breaching system, and it was and I'll admit it was quite well made. But how you guys think that how would it be if you're allowed to breach the walls as well, not only the doors?
So the problem with breaching wall is you need to use a bigger charge, and it depends on what kind of wall you want to breach. If there's like a solid brick wall, I highly doubt you're gonna be able to breach the same door with the same charge when the same wall with the same charge you use on doors.
It's actually.
So I think that. Sorry, what?
It's actually written right here. It says doors can be breached, destroyed, and shattered. Windows also break. Quite in a realistic manner too. Currently, you can shoot near an object. It will kick up extra smoke, similar how Squad does. You won't be able to make holes in walls with bullets.
Oh yeah, kick it.
You'll just see bullet holes. Exception being glass. Maybe in the future, corners in certain walls.
That would be cool to see, like if you can destroy corners, like some sort to make it more destructible environment.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the point is like the moment you are able to breach walls, for example, like you see in Rainbow Six, you're gonna start to say, okay, there are two questions they're gonna like come up with if you can do that. Will every wall be able to get breached, or only specific walls? And if it's only specific walls, we are kind of going in the directions Rainbow Six is going with, some sort of you can like expect someone coming from there. The problem is, if you can breach every wall, why do you want to breach through a door then? It's just like, it's just like if you're going to breach that wall, why do you want to go through that door? It's just useless. So I think they should not make it able for us to breach through walls. It's not realistic at all, and not always realistic, and it's just like kind of useless. I don't want to see that in the game.
I also forgot to mention that you could breach with a vehicle. Yeah.
Oh yeah, boy.
All right.
I don't know how what I should. I didn't even know that vehicles will be implemented in the game.
Well, it's entirely possible. I think more of it is going to be a cinematic cutscene of an insertion.
Well,
I think.
well, actually, yeah. But we actually there was a mission in SWAT 4 when you had when the police officer when the door was completely caged and an officer with a heavy tow car just blew off the entire cage off and you can just enter the door. So I don't know.
I'm expecting you'll be in a Bearcat and you will smash right through a trap house, wall or something. I'm expecting it. That's just how I feel about it. I feel it's entirely
anyway. That will be epic in my opinion too.
But still, like breaching with vehicles, kind of weird, I think. But also,
it's a very, very far-fetched kind of scenario, but it's entirely possible because it has happened before. But
it's not impossible, but still weird. Point is, didn't they say they don't want to make it able for us that we kind of drive around with the vehicle? Didn't they say it's like impossible to do that?
No, but I say again, it's more of an insertion kind of thing and more of an exfil. Thing when you have the vehicles, not just actually using it, because it's going to be a very linear game environment-wise. There's not going to be a lot of expansive kind of environments because, of course, SWAT teams operate in very close quarters. But that might change in maps that are possibly in a forest or wood area if we're facing some sort of deranged farmhouse criminal or something. But it's going to be quite interesting to see that kind of like that vast change we'll get if we're in the outdoors.
But if we are able to go with vehicles inside buildings, it would be actually quite cool to see some sort. Okay, this is like a far-fetched sketch, but some sort of vehicle customization that you can put ramps or ladders on the vehicles. I think GEGN, like the French Special Forces, are doing, like the French SWAT teams and the SWAT in USA are actually doing that. Like they have special vehicles with ramps on it. So, for example, you can reach like higher end windows and go in from there. Like choosing, like I hope, like from breaching wise, from the beginning of the mission, I hope we are able to choose our own entry point. Like that we're not like in SWAT 4, you can choose between this door and this door. I would love to see some sort of, okay, we can go through that window if you want, what is going from there, and the other one from that, like some sort of that. That would be actually quite interesting for me to see. But yeah, it's hard to do, but still.
All right, and I think we are done with our discussion here. Yuki, the outro, please.
Yep. Well, thanks for tuning in to the Vaidyanaught Community Podcast. This is Yuki, aka Dash with Gasmask, with B-Bank, Chero, Durek, Mark, Martin Freeman, Sergeant Mine, Triggered, Void Uprising, Whiskey, and me, myself, Yuki. Again, we'd like to thank you guys for tuning in. This is the Vaidyanaught Community Podcast. See you guys in the next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya.